some bonus time to Robert Champion, who's one of our new sponsors. And I met him, actually, the connection is Jamie Cooper, because I met him last November at a big party in Detroit. And he was telling me about a lot of the stuff that he does for the non-cannabis space, and now he's moving into the cannabis space, and I have his notes in front of him, and instead of me trying to explain everything, I'm going to let Robert run with the ball here. So
yeah, well, Mike, thank you for this opportunity and this time for this audience. Yeah, so we met, we really had good synergy, right? So I like to be around people that you get drawn into them. So that was the first connection. But Special Forces Collaborators, we are a group of experts out of the industries of CPGs and food and beverage and non-food and beverage industries, basically communicating things that are value added in operations, whether it's training in operations or manufacturing, that goes across several different functions within those organizations, from engineering to packaging materials, and all the peripheral business support systems that make these companies work. So we're very strong in this area in the sense of food and beverage industry. And we thought it would be a good segue into working in the cannabis industry to just help companies move forward with their strategic plans, because there's a lot of commonality between what's done in the food and beverage that just translates over to the cannabis industry.
yeah, certainly we got a lot of edibles, CBDs, different human consumption kinds of stuff. And I know also one of the things you mentioned to me was you do a lot of packaging. And of course, that's really important, particularly now everyone's trying to look at more eco-friendly packaging and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about what you bring to the party in terms of what kind of packaging you can offer the folks in the industry.
Yeah, good point, Mike. It's what's happening is sustainability. So sustainability is really huge as far as waste, consumption, and even in the innovation spot or place in branding with packaging. So renovation of brands, getting more excitement, getting on shelf with some different features and functions for consumers. So what we do is holistically, we look at material science as far as compatibility with products and what works best for an industry. Everything from flexible materials, primary to rigid, secondary to tertiary, which could be your shippers and your casers or your pouches and things like that. And what we look at is reducing waste in operations. So we look at, even the graphic design. We have people in our company that can look and work with you on graphic design improvement, on functionality improvement of your packaging, and also through your fabricating of your materials or your product in the packaging to reduce your cost of goods sold. So a lot of that is happening today with getting stuff on shelf faster, differentiating yourself on shelf. We can help work with you on that. But the other piece that's important with the packaging is the equipment compatibility along with the product. So you've got the product, you've got the packaging, then you need the equipment to also be able to produce that. So we kind of get into all three of those areas.
Why don't you go a little bit more in depth on that? So what sort of, as you eyeball the cannabis industry, and I assume the hemp industry too, or not? Do you look at it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so, Mike, because if you look at, for instance, let's take some synergies between traditional food industry and I think that, not like the cannabis industry's regulatory guidelines, being, compliance, being, addressing and being ready to deliver against the compliance that you operate in, whether it's in our industry in food and beverage, it could be OSHA, same as probably the cannabis industry. It could be safety, people quality, product quality. All these things are important to be able to operate. So we really, look at those regulatory requirements and really make it fit companies' operations, because that can stop your business if you don't meet the standards starting up in a day, or you get checked out by a regulatory body comes in and check your operations and you're not compliant, you can be shut down. So what we want to do, we help companies put things in place, operations, procedures, standard operating procedures at the very low level, into engineering solutions that automatically track and trace those key metrics, so that you don't get out of compliance as you're running. The other big piece, Mike, is with the employment and then our labor force changing, whether you have permanent labor or temporary labor, you need to make sure that you can have sustainability in your operation. So we look at the whole business, whole operation, and make sure that the compliance that they're under, the regulatory compliance that they're required to meet, we help them meet that in our tools, in our toolbox.
Yeah, certainly we're seeing coming into Michigan now. Well, there's edibles have been around for a long time, certainly, but now we're seeing infused wines, infused beers, and this, that, and the other. And so certainly that's something that you guys could help these purveyors of these products with, right?
Yeah, that's very good. That's very interesting because we see the growth in the cannabis industry. So if we look back on how the food industry grows and what it typically does, it's derivatives off of some baseline products that they have. And then, you got these food scientists that go out and they say, hey, this is also an opportunity for us, food developers that we can do. And they go to marketing, they go to sales, and the organizations to drive that internally to create more revenue, internal revenue. But yes, InnoFlex Solutions, we have background again in product compatibility to materials, because if they're not compatible shelf life wise and product taste, form, fit, all those textures that the consumer wants, and product quality, we can do all that. We look at that. We've been doing it for over 30 years. In Special Forces, we have over 120 years worth of experience across food and non-food applications. So we know our stuff. We've done everything from solid products that are edible to liquids to granular. And I think a lot of the industries have some commonalities again. So that's why we wanted to get inside the cannabis industry and take our knowledge base to help some of these companies grow and to be who they want to be quickly.
And so we just talked about packaging, but what else is unique about what you can offer to the cannabis community, Robert?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about, I think there's pillars when you talk about manufacturing goods, right? Or consumable goods. There, it's always the product, the packaging, and the equipment for the operations. So I've seen great packaging, I've seen great products, and I've seen horrible operations where you can't get it out into the market on time, on schedule. One of the recent examples is with COVID. It wasn't that COVID hit and it just shut down the supply chain. You know what it really evolved and showed us was that our operations were not functional, really getting 100% of what is capable capacity. We're living with 50 and 70 and 80%, depending on the industry. So what we bring is, and what I think is our cat's meow, what we do is we look at things holistically for the customer. So we understand their culture. One of the key things I think that is missed when you're engaging with companies inside probably cannabis and outside is not understanding the company's culture and their goals and their aspirations and how they plan to get there. What's their roadmap? And then come in with solutions that fit their roadmap, that fit their financial plan, that fit their people plan, that fit their operations, so that you, in essence, become a partner with them. So unlike traditional companies that sell commodities, capital equipment commodities, and provide an engineering service, we look at the holistic picture as if we were in your company, operating in your company, and was responsible for your P&L. So we look at, again, holistically, the materials, the product, and the equipment. And I think the other big piece are people. How do we augment people with technology? So again, going back to COVID, again, it wasn't that, the product wasn't good or the supply chain started to dwindle, meaning getting resources into the facilities. I think it was more of the operations just showed that they weren't at the baseline condition that you needed to have them at. And so we want to prevent that when you make your CapEx investments, or even when you look to improve to launch new products on shelf. We want to make sure we get more out of what you have and being flexible and not putting you in just a box, but giving you different ideas and solutions quickly to make a decision to make that investment.
All right, Rick or Dan, do you have any questions for Robert?
I'm curious, the title of your company is Special Forces. Is there a military connection with your personnel?
Rick, that's a great question. No. So that title was given, I'll tell you the short story. Vice president at a corporation I worked at. So my group I used to manage, we used to go in when we had problems in our manufacturing across 30 manufacturing facilities. We would have to go in and get lines up and running that were underperforming. So he would call my team, call me in and say, hey, and he said, special forces, go in there and fix it. We need it because we won't meet our number, our financial number this quarter if we don't get the volume out of these facilities, which is, I won't mention the big corporation's name. But so they came from affinity with the vice president, and it just stuck because that's what we did, and that's what we do. And it's going in strategically, knowing your area of expertise, be focused, laser focused, but collaborating. One of the problems with success in most of these companies like mine is we don't listen to the customer. So we really have to listen to the customer with a customer's ear, Rick. A good question.
So my question would be, and I'm going to throw this in, and I'm not stealing any thunder from you at all, Mr. Champion, but I did run up and grab this trap house. This is what caught mine and my wife's eye when we were in Easton Craft. And this is a 10-pack of 0.7s. It's all cardboard. It's just got this little tab in the back that you have to depress in, and then the box will come out. This is all cardboard. And my wife says that, a lot of my reviews are very adult use or recreational focused. And some of the problems that some of the med patients have would be, arthritis and different things. And a lot of this packaging is impossible to get into. So she's more on the side of, ease of opening, but still keeping that child restraint or safety mechanism. And I'm more on the side of eco-friendly. So is there some possibilities for us to get something more biodegradable and still easy to open, but not so easy for a, let's say, 3, 4, 5-year-old to open up?
Yes, the answer is yes. So how do you go about doing that? So the big thing now, and even in the CPG industry, is frustration-free packaging. And it didn't come from the CPG industry, it came out of Amazon, right? So they would drive these big CPGs, hey, you need to make packaging, as you just said, Dan, that can also, the elderly that are retiring, they need to be able to open it. The young people, to restrict them from getting in and hurting themselves. So yeah, all of those metrics you're mentioning are key to us and how we look at things. We look at it from all those different, remember, compliance to operate. So what is the regulatory guideline in that industry? We'll look at those standards and procedures, turn that into realistic deliverables. In this case, packaging materials, working with material scientists, working with material designers, working with, again, it has to be compatible with the equipment as a third tertiary leg, but primary, as you said, Dan, it has to be able to meet the consumer's needs. So yeah, the answer is yes. We look at that and have done that in the past.
And then my next question, it's always my zinger one. It's always the most important to any of these cannabis operators is the cost. Is the cost exponentially more? Are you guys in the middle of the pack, or do you guys really offer some lower tier, where it's not so expensive for a lot of these smaller operations that are literally, month to month to month?
Yeah. So being fully transparent with you, Dan, I've looked at that model as we enter into the space as far as, partnering with companies in our network that have those services. So we would look at companies that can turn over small quantities with design capability to design it on staff, fabricated at their facility and deliver small batches. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the numbers look like, but I know that this is a real concern in the industry for smaller companies getting and being able to, and even in the food industry, we had the same challenge. Not so much, capital, but, could we get the different functions and features quickly and then in small quantities, And so, yes, the answer is we have access to companies like that are doing that. And I plan on, as we grow this business, to really partner with other companies that do it better.
Well, it's been an honor and an absolute pleasure meeting you and chatting with you. And I'm hopeful that in the near future, we can do some business together. We have quite a few clients in the industry, and they're always looking for that next better thing. So thank you.
Particularly in the biodegradable space, Dan, we can all agree on that. Everybody wants to be eco-friendly. And so if you look, when you go into a dispensary, everything's wrapped in plastic and like 3 layers of plastic. And what do you do with the plastic? You throw it away, right? So, yeah,
that begs
be a big
question about the hemp content, though, right, Mike? what about hemp content and packaging for plastics used in the marijuana industry, right?
Yeah.
What about that, Mr. Champion?
Well, I don't have an answer for you, Rick, right now, but something I can take a note on and follow up with you with an answer.
Well, Mike can definitely get you in front of the right people that are doing the hemp derived plastics currently. But just imagine all of those doob tubes that weren't previously in our landfills going to our landfills now. It's just, we're just really environmentally unconscious, and it is green. So let's be green with the green.